Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Monday.
Whoops. There we go. Sorry.
Monday.
That was not quite the energy. Sorry about that. That was my fault.
I did it once, and you want me to do it again for you, Tom? Monday.
Not the same. Anyhow.
You want to go back to the beginning?
Nope. We're going to keep moving forward. I'm considering the decision, and then we're going to make it. So.
All right. Nice.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Tom, that's Bob, and this is today's Antidote, our daily broadcast where we try to provide you with a discussion about a topic that we'll discuss throughout the week, and then provide the one thing that we think can help you move forward when you run into the challenges and the items that we discuss. And as we're going through the conversation, we hope that you will share your one thing and any thoughts or comments that you might have, because we know that while we will start the conversation, that usually it is enhanced when you share what you're thinking. And when you share your one thing, there's someone out there who might be needing that, and it might need what you have to say rather than what we have discussed or will share as our one thing. So please feel free to share in the comments as we go through the show today. Or if you are listening to it later, watching it later, please feel free to add comments, because I know that people do go back and watch it later and review the comments, and that it can help them as they move through their day. So,
like this comment, Tom, killing it already this morning.
All right. I don't know. Maybe the bar's not very high if we're killing it already.
I think it's facetious. I think they're being funny because we were having some issues.
Got it. So this week we are going to talk about decisions. The last 2 weeks we've talked about obstacles, and then last week was opportunities. And I think those things arrive, and then we have to figure out a decision. And so today we're going to talk about how do you consider those decisions? It's a little bit like our conversation last week about opportunities, but I think that that is also, now we're getting down to where we actually have to do something. It's not just something in front of us. And so, I think we'll talk a little bit today about how do you consider them? What's your process that you go through if you have one? But before we do that, I want to make sure, now that we are fully into April, I guess we were on Friday as well, we have some great things coming up that we want to make sure that you take advantage of. So, Bob, do you want to share a little bit about some of our upcoming events this April?
I got to turn up the volume for this. I know you live for it. Hey, we are getting ready for our Renegade Roundup networking events. You can see there Tuesday the 13th, 8:30 a.m., Thursday, April 22nd, 4 p.m. You might say, why do you guys do two of them? We do two because some people can make each. Some people go to both. You can have a great time. I'm using my hands and only Tom can see it. It's too much fun. I put my two up there. No one can see it. And smack dab in the middle of all that, every Wednesday we're doing the Renegades check in and check out, check up, check. That's an opportunity for you to figure out what whoa, that's a new one. Look at that. 1 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays. You can check in with us, tell us what you've accomplished so far this week and what you still have to accomplish, get any help that you need, suggestions, and also just take stock right in the middle of the week.
Great. All right. Okay. For the day, or just
it just kind of ended abruptly, didn't it?
That's all right. Fair enough. I think one of the things I like about that whole idea of a check-in on Wednesday is, we can set some great intentions at the start of the week. And just like goals or anything we're trying to accomplish, there are things that are going to happen that are going to potentially derail us. I had a whole great week planned out last week, some things I really wanted to get done. It just didn't happen. Some other things got in the way. And I think the ability to have that little touch base just to see where you're at, taking the time to evaluate and better understand, okay, what has happened and how do I move forward is great. So we hope that you will join us. It's going to be actually right in Facebook, in a Facebook Messenger room. It's kind of like Zoom, but Zoom on Facebook. And really, there is not a big agenda.
I think you offended two companies at once with that comment. Zoom on Facebook.
That was my intent.
Well done.
They all try to just take bits and pieces from the others and figure it out. So
of course,
why not? And then, so hopefully you will both pop in. Like I said, there's no agenda. It's just a chance for you to touch base. And if you have a question, a comment, a concern, something you're struggling with, something you want to celebrate because of achievement you've already had, please feel free to come in and be part of our group. It'll be a nice little break in the middle of the week for you to help you continue the rest of your week. So with that, we hope that you will make the decision to join us on Wednesday and next Tuesday for our networking event. In the meantime, if you are considering it and are unsure, let's have a little conversation about how we consider the decisions that we have in front of us. Bob, do you want to start?
I do. I'm going to give you a personal example. It's not work, but it's affecting my work today. So late last week, my wife noticed that there was a leak in our kitchen sink. And she pointed it out to me and said, hey, can you look at this and try to fix it? So that was Thursday. Friday, I was busy. I said, I'll check it Saturday, I got up. I looked at it. It wasn't what I expected. I did some Google searching. I did some YouTube searching. I did some owner's manual searching. Nothing worked for me. So I let it go. My decision was I couldn't fix it. So I already on Thursday made the decision I'm not going to deal with it right now. Friday, I'm not going to deal with it. Saturday, I'll fix it myself. Investigated, couldn't find a way to do it that I could do. Didn't want to call a plumber in on Saturday because that's expensive. So Monday morning I get up and I go down into my kitchen and I have my slippers or my socks on and my feet get wet. Thought the cat had peed. No, way too much for the cat to have peed. It was totally water from the sink, from the faucet. So now my decision for today has already been affected. At 6:15, I was cleaning up the kitchen and all the water and getting it to a place where it wasn't leaking. I had to turn off the faucet. Then I had to call a plumber. Now I've got to wait for a plumber. So my decision today is not one that I can make with choices. I have very little choice. I've got to deal with the problem. On Thursday and Friday and Saturday, and even yesterday, if I'd chosen, I had options. And I think that's something that we find in business too, that we have options and sometimes we put them off. And next thing you know, you're up against the wall dealing with something. And it's almost as if the decision is made for you. This morning, the decision was made for me. When you've got a gallon of water all over your floor, you've got to turn off the water valve. You've got to deal with the plumbing issue. I couldn't put it off for 3 more days. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, so it's interesting, in all of that. If you go back to Thursday, what was the process you went through as you considered, what am I going to do with this current situation?
Was it an immediate crisis? No. Didn't look like a lot of water. Was it something I could do in 10 minutes or 20 minutes or less? No. So then it got to a place where it's like, okay, I need to get further into this. And I didn't want to take the time right then. So I assessed that the severity of the situation was very small compared to other things in my life. And as the clock kept moving forward till this morning, now the severity is very high. And therefore, my willingness to allow it to change my day has gone up accordingly. If you had said to me on Thursday, hey, Monday, you're not going to be able to deal with this meeting you have at 10 o'clock, I just said, no, that's got to happen. Now that meeting's not going to happen. Yeah. So things change situationally. And I think it happens with clients. Client says to you, hey, I got this issue. For me, at some points in my career, it's been, my email's not working. Can you take a look? Yeah, sure. It's probably just, check your internet. And then they call the next day. And it's like, my email's not working. Well, now we've got a full on emergency because you know as well as I, Tom, every single person that could ever email you with an opportunity only does it when your email doesn't work. It's like clockwork. And so we have these situations all the time. We have this situation regarding spending money, completing our tax forms. What else? I mean, it goes on and on. Should you get, I've talked to people about should you have business insurance or not? That's one that no person's like, I don't want to spend money. I don't want to spend the money. And then something comes up. It's like, boy, I wish I got that insurance. Now I lost 3 computers to, a power outage or something. It's like, yeah.
So I guess the question is, do you actually consider it or do you just put it off? Is there a difference?
I think often we think of considering something as putting it off. I think that is an option, right? But I think often putting things off is a unconscious decision, not a, I'm going to delay this decision until I'm required to deal with it. If you had told me Thursday that on Monday I was going to have a whole bunch of water in my kitchen, I would have said, boy, I got to deal with this Thursday. I'm going to bite the bullet, get a plumber out on Friday. It's going to screw up my day, but I'll get it done because I don't want Monday. I don't think we always assess the worst case, or sometimes we assess the worst case, and that's what paralyzes us even more.
Well, and that'd be the question I would ask is it, are you truly considering it if you haven't thought about the worst case, right? So if you were sitting there and saying, there's a little bit of water. That's okay. It'll be fine. I'll deal with it later. Are you truly considering it or are you putting it off? Because if you haven't thought about, well, there's a little bit now, there could be a lot at any time. I should really consider, evaluate, look at it, figure out like what is it's not such a big deal, or it could be a huge deal. And I then need to take the next step, which we'll talk more about tomorrow, is actually making the decision.
Right. There's also the aspect of it, which I think I see this a lot, especially people bootstrapping or starting businesses. I'll do it myself. I'll save the money.
Sure.
I can figure this out. And if I think of the amount of time I invested Saturday to figure it out versus what I could have been doing to make money during that time, that was a poor calculation in retrospect. It was about 3.5, 4 hours of my day. I could have easily used that 3.5, 4 hours of my day to do any number of things that did not get done this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's that becomes the real crutch of the situation is if we truly consider all the possibilities that could happen around this decision that we have to make or that we could make, have we truly considered it? If we haven't have thought of all those possibilities, or have we only considered a piece of it? It's kind of like, all right, there's a job opportunity. Do I want to go after this job opportunity? And you can think about it and think about it and think about it and think about it until at some point you're forced to make a decision or miss it. Or you could just sit down and say like, okay, let me right now take the time rather than spending all of this time going back and forth and say, what is my process by which I am going to look at, we went through this the other day when you were talking with your client who was looking at their second space. Someone was sharing them all the really good things about it. Somebody else, you were sharing some of the maybe you haven't thought of this perspective. And then here's kind of the neutral things, which allowed that person to really get the bigger picture so that they could have more information as they consider what will be the final decision that they will make. If they had only listened to the real estate agent who truly had one agenda, would they have truly considered the opportunity, the decision, or just gotten a bit and piece of it?
And let me make things even worse for me, because Tim points out this morning, I've got to teach you how to replace a kitchen faucet. It's seriously a 10-minute job that anyone can do. How's that for considering a decision? So there's yet another thing that I didn't do. I could have called Tim. I know Tim's done home stuff, and said, Tim, can you walk me through this? Do you have 10 minutes to help me do this thing? That wasn't even in my decision process. So here I am telling you this morning, I had incomplete information, in some ways inaccurate information, because I thought it was more complicated than Tim seems to think it could be. And so even the decisions I made in retrospect look silly based on the new data. But the good thing about that is, at least this morning, I can evaluate this and say, okay, how does this apply to my life in the whole? And, you got to consider all aspects of it, even the ones that you don't know. So to me, it was Bob can fix it easily, or the plumber. There wasn't the third rail, which was Tim. Hey, Tim, walk me through this. And Tim's not the only person. I'm thinking now there are probably 3 or 4 people that I could have gotten to help me with it. Totally didn't even cross my mind, because I had tunnel vision of one of 2 ideas. And if you had asked me 3 weeks ago, how do you solve a plumbing problem? I'd say, if it's easy, I fix it. Otherwise, I call a plumber. So
because that was what
third option, right? The third option didn't exist.
And I think that's the same thing, that goes with many of the decisions that we make through our professional lives, is that we make them given our knowledge, experience, and perspective. And so often don't have more information that will help us further consider what are our options going to be. Based on what we know, our options are probably in here. Once we start asking others, our options start to expand, or our knowledge and experience start to expand, so that as we consider,
or they may narrow, right?
They may
also. If you have more information, it could be, it could be one choice.
Well, I think that would be as you want to make it, right? As
right.
You're considering it, you're going to expand. And now as you make it, hey, I'm going to pick this little piece, and this is exactly what I'm going to do, because given all that I know, this is what I'm going to move forward. And I think that's sometimes that we want to consider decisions ourselves, right? Why do I need somebody else to make a decision that's going to impact me? It's going to impact my business, my team, my organization. And so often I think that we feel like that's our role. That's what we've been given the responsibility to do. And yet in reality, those are the times, as we are considering what we might do, is when we want to have more information. Again, the challenge is how far and how much more information do you need before you can truly consider it. But I would say that if all you're seeing is one side of the story, or maybe 2 of the sides being either positive or negative or neutral, challenges or benefits, maybe you want to think about that third. And if you are creating, somebody said, as you consider something, create a list of okay, what are all the things that are good about this? What are all the things that are maybe not so good about this? And what are the things that are neutral? And now you've really spent a little more time. And likely if you ask others, they will provide you even additional information. And so I think that, as we are considering it, how do we gather more knowledge, experience, and perspective to help us truly consider a decision?
And I think for me, it's recognizing I should not be going these things alone. Had I brought someone I know into this plumbing situation, they probably would have given me some insight. Even if they had said, hey, call the plumber, they could have said, hey, call the plumber today, because that looks like it's going to get bad.
Or just get rid of it, be done with it, right?
Right.
I think that's often the challenge, is that sometimes that additional information makes the considering a whole lot easier. Sometimes it makes it confusing. And the more people we ask, likely the more confusing it's going to get. And so having those right people that when you need help considering those options, they're able to provide you with additional resources.
And we're willing to contact them. because it's not, I've got that list of people that would be glad to help me. I'm not the one who calls them. That's on me.
Well, and that's another consideration as a part of a bigger decision, right? That's a whole nother decision of.
And a whole week of programs, probably.
Or therapy, one of the two.
Aren't they the same?
Sometimes.
So Tom, I'm going to give you my one thing today.
Awesome.
And that is, instead of thinking it as either yes or no, do or don't do, there's probably a third option that we need to consider that I wish I had, in my case with my plumbing, had thought about the third option, which was call someone I know and say, hey, can you at least tell me, am I on the right track here?
I like it. No, I think that's good. And mine this today is going to be, I got thinking about this, you're talking about it, is that so often we, lost my thought there for a moment, sorry. As we are considering decisions, the more that we don't really gather all the information so that we can truly consider it and then figure out what we're going to decide to do, the longer we put that off, the less likely we actually have the ability to make a decision. In your case, you considered it, but didn't gather all the information or didn't ask for other information, didn't consider what were all the challenges that it might face. It took a whole lot of time, and now you don't have the option. You're out of options. You just have to act. And so I think sometimes that if we don't truly consider the broad picture in the moment, we're just putting it off. And the more that we put it off, the less likely we have to truly make a decision that's going to be forced upon us.
I like that. I think we've covered lots of ground. Now, because we talked about my personal plumbing in a business discussion, can I claim the plumbing expense as a business expense?
I think that's something you probably ought to, if you're going to consider that, you might want to bring in some other information. Tax advisor might be beneficial to say whether or not that makes sense. Because
just for the record, I will not be doing that. I just want to be clear in case anyone's listening. Wouldn't it be funny if you got an IRS audit and they pulled up a camera, they brought a TV set in, and they said, we'd like to play something for you. Well, here's this thing you do at 8 a.m. every morning. On the state, you said.
Well, here's what I would say is you're basing that on, in some regards, what you think is the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
When in reality, you might call your tax advisor and they'd be like, hey, you know what? That's just like an example. It was a test. And now you could write that off. And here's why. Because maybe you don't have all the information on the tax code that would say why that might be an opportunity. And so you have, are you truly considering it if you haven't brought in extra information to help you truly understand all of the possibilities that are out there? So you might want to call your tax person. Maybe they'll say yes.
I doubt it.
You never know. Might be interesting information just to do so you can share back with the group.
Oh, there you go. Okay. I will make a call today then just to find out so we can have complete information.
That's good to hear. All right, everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. Please feel free to share your one thing about how you consider decisions. And do you bring in others? And if so, who or whom? Do you bring in, do you have a Rolodex of people that's like, as I'm considering this, I know I need to call this person because I think they have some knowledge, experience, or perspective that might be able to help me. So if you've enjoyed this conversation and you are not yet a member of our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, we would encourage you to join. It's easy to do. Just go to Facebook, search for Ring of Renegades, and you just have to ask to join. It's a private group, so you just need to tell us why you're a renegade. And you can become a part of this growing group that is helping one another figure out and have more information so as they're considering their decisions, they can determine with more information what's going to be the right decision or the best decision or the real decision for them in the moment. So we hope you will join us there. If not, we will see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for our next edition of today's Antidote. And honestly, if you are truly struggling or you don't have that group of people, that core group of people to help you when you're trying to consider a decision, you may want to consider our Renegade Success Network, which is a core group of people who are looking for a little bit more, who love the Facebook group, and they want that opportunity to have a greater connection, to have a little smaller group that they can go to that they know is definitely there to support them, to provide information when they need it, or just provide space for them to share. So here's some further information about our Renegade Success Network. Have a great day, everyone, and we hope to see you soon. Are you struggling to make your vision a reality? Are you stuck and don't know what to do next? Are fear and doubt holding you back? The Renegade Success Network will help you determine the next steps on your pathway. Here is some of what you will get. Create your pathway call to start you on a better path. Unlimited laser solution sessions to keep you from getting stuck. Nurture your network events to build your network with other successful leaders. Monthly Renegade challenges to prepare you for what lies ahead. The Renegade Success Vault, giving you access to videos, tools, and tips on specific topics anytime you need them. And the Renegade Success Network community, an exclusive Facebook group of like-minded renegades, all working towards achieving their goals. You have a choice. Do it yourself and fumble forward slowly and alone. Or join the Renegade Success Network and be part of a community built to help you find your own pathway. Join today at renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Act now and jumpstart your journey on your own pathway to success.